Hi, everyone. Welcome to Back to School Night. Such an odd back to school night it is. My name is Stephanie Castellano. Many of you I've met before, and welcome to Ceramics 2. So, I am one of the three art teachers here at Rutherford High School, and I've worked here for 14 years. And in addition to teaching all three levels of the ceramics classes, I also often teach photography class, I teach art by computer design, and I teach AP art history. I am also the advisor of the art club. So I reach all areas of the art department. Um, Now, we know, as we've discussed in Ceramics 1, for those of you that I've met, all of your sons and daughters have taken the Ceramics 1 course. In Ceramics 2, we're moving on from the basic hand building techniques into more advanced skills. Now, normally what I would be telling you is that we work with both hand building techniques and we work on the potter's wheel. But unfortunately, with the hybrid learning and everything that COVID is, or the ways that COVID is changing our lives right now, with the social distancing, we won't be using the potter's wheel as far as I can see into the future. So we will be focusing more on hand building, which is unfortunate. And I know the students are very upset about it. Things go back to normal. I will, pop it in there, in the curriculum as soon as possible. Um, but we will be working with mostly hand building techniques, but we'll be building upon the basics that they learned in Ceramics 1. And they'll be learning a few advanced techniques like the hollow technique. And if we have time, we'll be working on the teapot. I'm going to walk you through some of those projects in a moment. So in terms of grading, I'm grading them similar to how I did in Ceramics 1. However, since we're working virtually and in school, the grading has changed a little bit. So 15% will be based on participation. The participation grade will reflect their in-class learning. So, how well they're working during class time, working on their class projects with clay. Whenever they're in school, they'll be working with the clay, but I'm not going to have them transport it home. So when they're home, they'll be working on virtual assignments that I'll explain a little bit later. Some of them include, slideshows, maybe some hands-on activities. They will have participation grades for attending Zoom meetings and completing those assignments on a daily basis. 45% is based on their project grades. So they will receive 2 project grades for every clay project that we complete. As we did in Ceramics 1, I'll be grading that the same. However, I will also be giving them project grades for our long-term assignments that they are completing at home when they're learning virtually. 15% of their grade will be based on their original sketches and designs. And just as in Ceramics 1, they're required to do sketches for each of their projects. And they're not being graded on their ability to draw, but rather on their ability to plan their designs out and, their projects. I've given them a rubric, and the rubric can be found on Google Classroom for how their sketches should be completed. 15% is based on their progress indicator. So this is classwork and pretty much their ability to hand things in on time, follow due dates. And then the last 10% is based on homework. Moving on, I'm going to show you some project examples. So these project examples are to be created with clay in the classroom. So the first project that we've started right now is a mini project. So only be worth 1 project grade. And this, I did not assign them a sketch to complete with because I wanted to get them back into working with clay, since for some of them it's been a long time. So we started by creating the most basic of hand building techniques, which is the pinch pot. And then they took the pinch pot and flipped it over. And on the top side of the pinch pot, they're creating 3 textures that represent the coral reef. So these are some examples from the past, and they are on day 3 of creating these in the classroom. After that, we're focusing on texture for the first few projects. So once we complete the coral reef project, they get to create a project of their choice. It could be any content that's school appropriate that they would like. It could be functional or non-functional, but the requirement is that they need 2 textures. One must be a raised texture and one must be an indented or pressed texture. So we've gone over what those different textures mean, and they're practicing them on their coral reef right now. So here are some examples of what has been done in the past. So you can see different students have created, functional, well, these are mostly sculptural pieces. They also have the opportunity to create a functional piece, and the exterior of the surface would be where the textures must be placed. After that, we're going to go into a painting-inspired sculpture, I call it. And this painting-inspired sculpture is a new technique that they haven't learned yet. This is a hollowed technique. So what we do with the hollowed technique is used for more complex forms, okay, ones that are difficult to make from some of the other techniques that we've learned in Ceramics 1. So here they will choose a painting from the 20th century, an abstract painting from the 20th century. This is Van Gogh's Starry Night, which is actually the very end of the 19th century. And they will have to create a sculpture that's inspired by this painting. And this is where they learn to use a glaze called underglaze. So underglaze creates nice detailing. So I require them to use some underglaze on their sculpture once it's done. And they sculpt from a solid piece of clay, and then they have to hollow it out, because if you put clay solid in the kiln, it explodes, and there goes all your hard work. So they learned that technique with this project. You'll notice this is a Delaunay painting, and you'll notice the different sculptures that have been made inspired by these paintings. This is a Dali. This is a Jackson Pollock. And if we have time, which I very much hope we do, we will work on the teapot. Now, the teapot is one of the most complex forms in ceramics, because there are 4 parts that need to be put together very carefully, and they need to be very well thought out and measured. So we go through what the 4 parts are and how they have to be connected, and students will create their own design. Now, normally they're allowed to use any hand building technique or the wheel. Since we're not using the wheel, we're taking that off the table. So they're allowed to use any hand building technique that we've learned. And here are some examples of what's been done. They be creative. As always, they can't steal ideas, but they can be inspired by different artworks. And each of these projects that I'm showing you will get 2 project grades, a technical grade and an aesthetic grade. The technical grade is based on their ability to follow directions, connect the clay together, keep the clay proper thickness, to clean up the surfaces and to glaze neatly. And then their aesthetic grade is based on their design, their details, texture, use of elements of design, their overall concept. So those 2 grades will be 2 grades for each project grade, each clay project grade. Now, virtual assignments will be completed at home. And here are some examples. Right now, they started their ceramicist slideshow, where I've assigned them each a famous ceramicist. And they're creating a slideshow based on this artist. They're researching them and have to create some designs based on that. They'll be creating a found object sculpture. So in a few weeks, you'll see them collecting all items and then creating a sculpture with it. And I have more to be announced. Kind of have to plan a little bit more. And all of the assignments, whether they're in class or at home, students will have the ability to appreciate functional and non-functional ceramic forms. It will teach the students how to apply the elements of design into 3-dimensional artworks. We'll expand upon the basic ceramic hand building techniques. We'll encourage problem-solving skills, create an awareness of oral and written critique. So we'll try and do some oral critiquing during our Zoom meetings. And we'll do some written critique probably on slideshows, looking at each other's work. And I will encourage and foster creativity. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and I hope you're excited to see some of your sons and daughters' artworks and ceramic pieces. And I hope to see you in person soon. Have a great night.